Welcome to the Dick Buttons interviews. Buckle up. This is Matt Zane.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome to the Dick Buttons interviews a man whose profile I came across on Facebook. The connection being Kiss related, because I'm a big Kiss fan since I was 10 years old. Saw that, dove into his profile, Mr. Matt Zane, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I mean, there is so much to dive into, Matt. I mean, I looked at your bio and the stuff that you've done, the stuff that you're doing now, and I want to take it back though to the early years. Were you always into music, or was it something that happened a little bit later on in life? Or
Yeah, I was into music since probably about I didn't really start playing until 13. That's when I got into guitar. Prior to that, I grew up in the 80s. Everybody was into music. It was part of pop culture. Run
right,
DMC, Michael Jackson, Van Halen, those were the three big ones in the beginning. And obviously I was aware of Kiss and Ozzy Osbourne, which was just more in terms of like an actual cultural appreciation. I didn't get into their music until later. But,
right.
it was, one of those things where, my mom asked me if I wanted to play an instrument. I saw my older brother had an electric guitar one day, and I said, "Yeah, I wanna play guitar," and that's how it all started.
Now, did you take formal lessons, or are you self-taught?
No, I took formal lessons, and I ended up going to MIT in Hollywood, Musicians Institute of Technology. I was there the same year that, Ivan DePrume from White Zombie was there. We were in, the same year. Brian from Downset. They
Okay,
were like a hardcore kind of Rage Against the Machine band that came around in the early '90s. Who else was in that class? Weezer, the guy was before me. We didn't go to school together until Rivers until the year after.
okay.
It was just one of those things. So I was down in Hollywood as early as 17 years old, right on Hollywood and Highland.
Wow.
You know,
So that scene must have been insane back then, right?
yeah, it was absolutely crazy, man. I caught the tail end of the hair metal thing, which was nuts. I mean, Sunset Strip was exactly what they always explained. I only got to experience maybe about 9 months of it before it started to switch over. But then, a lot of people talk about that scene dying. But after that, man, it just went into a different type of scene. It was, Korn was coming up at that time,
Right, right,
the
yeah.
advent of new metal. So, I got to experience that right afterwards, and it was absolutely insane. And that was back when Hollywood was still very much a scene that was very alive. That was before the Rainbow Bar and Grill was a museum. You could
Right.
go to the Rainbow Bar and Grill and you would run into David Lee Roth, which I did. You'd run into Ron Jeremy, which is not popular anymore, which he used to be there. Lemmy used to actually sit at the bar and play that. You could see them, anybody. You'd run into anybody and everybody there. If you look up at the wall at the Rainbow and you look at all the famous people that were up on those pictures, they weren't paid to be there, and they weren't there because somebody dragged them there. This used to be a real hangout spot, and that was really pretty much all of Hollywood back in the day. I mean, you had massive stars mingling with the lowest of people and everybody were in between, and it was an absolutely unbelievably magical place. There's electricity in the air. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I got to tell you, man, there's nothing like just hanging out at the Rainbow one night and David Lee Roth just hanging out in the booth over there. And that really happened. And I walked up to him and I just said, "Hey, Dave, how you doing?" And he shook my hand and a couple of words. And, for a kid that grew up in a village with 5,000 people, that was just it. But,
Right.
that was just one story of the times back then. I could do a whole nother documentary about it, man. I used to run into the guys from Rage Against the Machine. Tom Morello used to come to my shows, and he used to bust my balls when I would see him, and I'd be like, "Why are you here?" And he goes, "I'm here to see you." He was lying. He was just there to hang out. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's just kind of what it was like back then.
When did the music get serious for you? Like, you didn't go from picking up the guitar to getting into Society One, right? I mean, Society One came later on?
Yeah, the plan was always to get into music. I was into music and film equally in the '80s, but film back then seemed like such an impossibility to get into because the only thing that you had other than actual film was video cameras, which I had.
Right.
They were actual
Mhm.
VHS cameras. Some people had beta cams, but let's not get crazy. And music just seemed like an easier route, a more attainable route to be able to express yourselves back in those days. So I was playing, clubs and playing shows, I should say, as early as 13. And as soon as I got into Hollywood, within 3 months of being out here, I was already playing the strip. My first strip show was at the place called Coconut Teaser. And for all the people that are way younger than me, will remember like tons of people got signed out of the Coconut. Everybody used to Rage Against the Machine used to play at the Coconut Teaser.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just one of those things. Right at 17 years old, I was already serious. I was already playing on the strip, and I was already in bands. I was so young that they used to make me sit outside on the steps, and they wouldn't let me into the club until it was time to play.
So you are almost 50? If my math is not my
51.
strong suit. You're 51. Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm
51.
60. I'm a decade older than you, but
Yeah, I'll be 50
and
this year, but I'm not pushing it.
it's all in here though, man. I don't feel 60. I don't act 60. So, God bless you. I don't think you're gonna turn 50 and go, oh, or 51
Y-
and
You know,
wither.
I have arguments with people about age all the time, and I can tell you this, man. I think people stay younger and hear a lot more than they do here, because the one thing that you really can't argue about getting older is the fact that the body does break down, and it breaks down to the extent that a lot of people are so unaware of it. They really do believe that they're younger than they are, and I'm not even talking about in terms of looks or even muscles. The thing that a lot of people don't realize is after 50 your body just doesn't move the same way. So for
Yeah.
me, it's yeah, and here I'm still having fun and passionate and energetic, but even though I'm thin, and I look relatively in the same shape as I used to when I was younger, the movement and your mobility changes. So if anybody's out there and they really want to know the secret to longevity, more so than anything, it's mobility. And I don't mean to steer this away from music and entertainment, but I love to tell younger people that, like,
No, no, that's fine.
definitely
Go ahead, go.
focus on your mobility, because it's a big deal. You can attest. You're 8 years older than me. It's wild after 50, is it not?
It's crazy, man. Your body just says, when you're younger, you could eat anything you want. You don't have to really be mobile. And then you hit a certain age and your body goes, fuck you. We're doing it my way now.
You
And
breathe and you gain weight.
yeah, I mean, yeah. And then, I used to run every day, but then I tore my meniscus and I couldn't run. And so you gotta adapt and you gotta find something that works for you.
Yeah.
But you're right. Every day you should be doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. I try. It's tough. I sit in front of a computer all day long these days, but yeah, I do what I can.
So when did Society One come about? Like what year did they
95, I believe. Our
okay,
first tour was in 96.
so was that was the grunge period, right? Or was it more the alternative rock thing
Well,
or
grunge was happening, but that was really the new metal era in LA. We didn't have any grunge bands. It was
right.
all new metal, man. All my
Yeah.
contemporaries. I mean, I was playing the same clubs that Korn was before they got signed. Deftones.
Right, right.
There was, literally, there were times when I would be playing the Whiskey and Korn would be at the Roxy in '94.
Okay.
No, I'm not even joking. Like, that's how crazy it was. They got signed. They started to blow up. We were still a local band, but then it was just other bands. I knew the guys, Rivers from Weezer. I knew all the guys from Incubus. Um, I knew the guys from Downset. And then ultimately meeting all those other bands that came up in the scene, like Cold Chamber, Static X, Snot. I knew all the guys from Snot. And then other guys that I didn't get along with so well that kind of didn't want to be associated with me. So, but yeah, that was kind of more the time frame that I came up in. It was definitely a new metal thing. The grunge thing, I think, would already had settled in and kind of was already, I'm not gonna say going out, but was kind of on a
Right.
downward slope. But LA was all new metal, man. That's what it was.
I remember Janie Lane in an interview before he passed saying he knew it was over because their Cherry Pie album used to be hanging in the lobby of the CBS Records,
Yeah.
and then one day he went in and it was gone and it was Nirvana hanging there. So that was his omen that the hair metal was on its way out.
Yeah, interesting thing about Janie Lane, a very morbid detail. I live in a place right next to Woodland Hills, and the hotel that he died in is literally across the street from the Whole Foods that I shop in every week. And I used to shoot my adult films occasionally in there, and that's where he passed away. And I always think about him whenever I
Wow.
pass that place.
He was a talented guy, man. I mean, as far as songwriting goes, I thought he was one of the best, I think. I mean, I love his stuff.
Yeah, he's a really interesting dude because like he became a chef later, so he obviously was talented and multifaceted in terms of what he able to accomplish. You know, the thing about Warren that always blew my mind on a side note is that a lot of people talk about the 80s being done after 89, but really 1990 was 89 part 2 or part
Right,
B. And the way that you can prove that is through Warrant because Cherry Pie came out in 1990.
right.
It's 80s all the way. So people
Yeah,
that didn't live through that time, if you wanna experience 80s culture, late 80s culture, you get a bonus year. 1990
yeah,
is a bonus year because Cherry Pie was a massive hit, and it was
it
in
was.
1990.
And I remember their later stuff after Cherry Pie, when I enjoyed that stuff too. I can't remember the name of the albums now, but they had 2 or 3 albums after Cherry Pie that I thought were fantastic.
Yeah, I never really got into it all that much and listened to it. Obviously, there was so much music going on in the 90s. I mean, you just think about everything, from Alice in Chains, Smashing Pumpkins, Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Tool, Pantera, Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails,
Yes,
Bob
I mean,
Dylan. Like it was just so much. I just never. It was so exciting and so new that I kind of like let a lot of the '80s stuff go. I couldn't keep
right.
up on it because there was just, I mean, everything was just happening so
Now,
fast.
your musical taste, you don't limit I'll say for me, I always tell everybody I'm Sinatra to Metallica and everything in between. Do you stay with the metal
No.
or can you listen to other stuff?
I listen to things that people wouldn't even believe that I listen to. I listen to Alan Holdsworth, the Mahavishnu Orchestra, to Scott Henderson of Tribal Tech, all the way over to Gigi Allen, all the way over to Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, all the 80s bands, Van Halen, Guns N' Roses, all the way over to Frank Zappa, huge Frank Zappa fan. So yeah,
Mhm.
I love all types of music. Not everything, obviously. Rush,
Yeah,
there's just so much music that I like, and it just depends on what mood I'm in and what I'm going through. I'll listen to
same here.
Typo Negative for 3 months straight, and then I'll move over to Alan Holdsworth, and then I'll go to Danzig, and then maybe I'll go back to Van Halen, David Lee Roth, Eric Van Halen. So it really, it just depends on, just whatever going on. To me, there's not enough time in the day to listen to all the music that you want, and I wish I could live longer just to explore and listen to more music.
I I think music is extremely important to a person's life. I mean, for me, I can tie every major milestone in my life to a song or to an album or a time period. It's just it's the power of music should not be understated. I think it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Now you
film.
mentioned you mentioned David Lee Roth twice already. I wanted to
Yeah.
get your opinion on something.
Mhm.
Have you seen the video clips from his
Yeah.
most recent tour?
Yeah.
I mean, do you agree to to the notion that there is a time to hang it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the rub to that is, though, if people are still buying tickets, that's a hard decision to make, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I have a lot of thoughts about David Lee Roth. I could talk to you about David Lee Roth for the next hour. I saw the Skyscraper tour. I saw the Little Ain't Enough tour. I saw him in a private show in the late 90s. I saw the Sam and Dave tour. And I saw the very last Van Halen show ever at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, wow.
I saw that show. There was 2 nights. I was on the second night. I saw up until the very last song. Um, Love David Lee Roth. Uh, I could talk to you about him, like I said, forever. His solo stuff. I could talk to you about his solo records. But as far as him hanging it up, the thing is, and this is going to sound absolutely insane, but if Dave were to call me or his handlers were to call me and they were going to say, "Hey, we know you do social media and you've done social media for bands and whatever and music videos. What can you do to revive Dave's current situation?" I still think that I could take him and coach him enough that he could put on far better shows than he's putting on because he still looks great for being 70 years old, number one.
Oh, no, he looks great.
And his low register is still there. He still sounds like Dave in his low register, but somebody is telling him to sing in a higher register, not even where the songs used to be. And it is a switch that he did after A Little Ain't Enough when he started singing that single My Machine on the album that came after A Little Ain't Enough. And if somebody were just to go in and just say, all right, this is where you need to sing your songs. And if you can't hit these notes anymore, this is the note that you talk through, right?
Right,
Just did all that. Then they took the band, even though the band is musically really great, but they actually made them look like rock stars and had them doing all the moves around Dave like the old bands used to do, Eat 'em and
right.
Smile era as well as Van
Yeah.
Halen. I can guarantee you that his career would blow back up again. Really, he's only in the position that he's in because he's attempting to do things that physically his voice could never do, and that's the problem. And if he would just even talk through his songs in his David Lee Roth voice, he could still be putting on amazing shows. So
Yeah.
that's where I put it, because Zach, he can't do the kicks anymore,
No.
but all those things that he used to do in between the kicks, he can still do. He can still shuffle around the same. He still
Yeah.
has the ability. He's just cool. He's got cool clothes. He has that low David Lee Roth voice still. You can get guys to play. You just need the band to be running around like they're in the old days. He needs to sing everything in his low voice, and he needs to get rid of the backup singers because that was never part of whatever he did. If he needed
No,
help
but
backup wise, just get guys that can sing and help
off
up
stage. Yeah.
with the backup stuff, you know?
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's it. So do I think he should retire? No. But do I think that his show needs alterations to bring it back to as close to his glory as they can? Yes. And I still think that he has the ability to do that. But I'm too small time for them ever to come and ask me or whatever, because they're going to be like, what the hell does this guy know? He's a low level
Right.
dude. Yeah, he worked with this guy and that guy. Or
Right.
this
Right.
dude.
Right.
Trust
And
me,
then while
get a hold of Dave, it would be a whole different story.
we're on the subject, how too long do you think Paul Stanley stayed in the game?
Well, he's not out of the game. Kiss is back together.
Well, yeah, no. You know what I mean. They're not gonna tour anymore. They recorded new music for the Avatar show, apparently. I
Yeah.
read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I saw the last tour, and the last year or 2 years, Paul couldn't really hit those notes either, but he still tried.
Well, listen, I think with Kiss, you just gotta. I think they did what they did. And listen, man, I can never say anything bad about Kiss because I've worked
Me
for them
neither.
times now, and they were incredibly nice and so personable and so accommodating that I'll give them a far greater pass than some other bands if maybe the last
Right,
two were a little bit tough.
right.
Yeah, like those guys have a new soft spot in my heart. They were always an important band to me because some of my best friends that are no longer with me, Kiss was their favorite band. And obviously, there were cultural icons in the 80s, even without the makeup when I grew up. And then when they put the
Yeah,
makeup
correct.
on, but then when I began to work for them on occasion, as recently as I believe last week, they are just really amazing, cool people. And Paul's cool too, but Gene was just like
Yeah,
so unbelievable.
I've met Gene. Yeah, he's amazing. He's really he comes off pompous, I think, if you don't really understand him, but when you meet him, he's not the same guy that he's in the interviews and stuff. He's pretty down to earth.
Oh, he really is. He's so educated and he just so personable. And I can't even tell you the experiences that I've had working for him that were just unbelievable. I mean, I was incredibly surprised. I was hoping for a picture, and I got like my own private show, and I'm working, I'm
Right,
shooting,
right, right.
and
Yeah.
like setting up lights and shit, and like running interviews with them, and they're just like goofing off with me and like, they're looking at my shoes because I wear funny toe shoes because I'm into the
Right.
primal. And Gene's like, I have pictures of Gene lifting my foot up and looking at my shoes. And,
Oh, that's pretty
like,
cool.
yeah, he's like commenting on what I'm wearing and like, just joking around, like really non-politically correct humor, which I can understand because I am 51 years old. But yeah, it was just awesome. It was just awesome. I hope that they continue to have me back. Um,
And what capacity, can I ask, did you work for them? Like, I heard you said lights and running interviews and stuff.
yeah,
Well, what
so it was a couple different things each time. The last time, I was brought in last minute because the guy that was supposed to be running these interviews for this, I think it's all public, but Kiss sold their whole thing,
Yeah,
like so
to Pop
people,
House,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So Pop House kind of, gives. I don't know how to say this properly. They have projects for Kiss to do. And Kiss
Mhm.
kinda have to do them because now Pop House is running the show. So, Pop House gives these instructions, and then people like me have to come in and do things, and every time it's a little different. So last time, I had to conduct an interview about their songwriting because they're being inducted into, I think, the Songwriting Hall of Fame in Nashville, and I
Yes.
think public, I hope so. And, I had to run the questions for him, right? And
Okay.
then while I was also there, they needed some additional voiceover work for the last time that we worked for him. So I had to run over to Paul, and I have a picture of me sitting next to Paul and Gene and running through lines that they had to do. And I just went through to not vocal coach, but to just cue and set up the voiceovers and things like that. So that was that time. The time before that, I actually had to run camera. So I was actually running
Mhm.
camera 2, I think. And I had I do that, and that was a lesser extent of involvement, but it was still a great time. So every time it's a little bit different. It just depends on what is asked of me from the people that Pop House hires. So they hire like a guy that I know, and then he hires me, and then I go in and do whatever he needs me to do.
That's pretty cool. How it must be difficult being a fan and staying grounded to being, pretend to not to be a fan while you're working with people that you admire and are a fan of?
It's tough. It is because when you get into people like Kiss or The Doors, who I've also done stuff with, or Zach Wild was another one, DMC when I worked at DMC, but
Mhm.
Kiss, yeah, I won't lie. Like when I had to run the interview, um, that's different than running camera or prepping lines,
Right,
and having a direct question with them, and they're and I'm running questions that Pop House gave me, and they're pushing back a little bit because maybe Pop House didn't do their homework enough or frame the question in a way. But luckily, because I'm a fan, I knew how to restate the question where I could get myself out of hot water. You're
right,
sitting with these legends and you're having to do your job, but sometimes, they're putting words in your mouth that maybe they don't necessarily like the tone of it. And it's not
right,
me,
yeah,
but you're the guy that's interviewing them.
yeah.
So, like that happened on this last time. But thankfully I know enough about them that I'm able to calm down and breathe. And I've been around so many big stars now that it's a little easier, than it used to be. But yeah, still sometimes, it gets me, you know. I shot John Densmore of the Doors in his house for something. And dude, I barely could remember my name, and I'm having to set up
Right, right.
cameras and sound and
Yeah.
like the whole bit, that was a crazy one. I shot photographs for the Doors 50th anniversary. They used like 13 of them, and I went backstage and met Robbie Krieger multiple times, and it was crazy. There was times when I was just standing back there, just me and him and like one other person having conversations, and I'm sitting there just going, like, and when I was at Densmore's house, he would talk to me about Jim Morrison. Do you know what it's like to talk about Jim Morrison with an actual member of the
I
Doors?
mean, that's gotta be mind-blowing.
Dude, it was like he was just started telling me stories about Jim and having a conversation, and I'm just like going, I didn't even know what to do with myself. You know what I mean? Like it was just crazy. Or when Zach Wild telling you about Dimebag Daryl, you know,
Yeah,
it's just crazy. It blows my mind. But I'm grateful that I got to meet a lot of my heroes and a lot of these people because they are special. They are unique people. They are powerful. And they were a part of my life as well as a lot millions and millions of other people's lives and pop culture.
yeah,
And I'm never going to be one of those people. I have an amazing life, incredibly interesting, and I'm very grateful for it. I've been able to do some wild things, but I'll never be Paul Stanley or Simmons or John Densmore. So like the fact that I get to still work with these people is very, very unique, and I'm very, very grateful for it because a lot of people get to meet or take pictures, but when you get
yeah,
to work with these people to some extent,
yeah,
that's where I think it's really special, especially when it's a
yeah,
creative endeavor.
yeah. No, we jumped ahead a lot, but I wanted to go back to Society One. At what point was it prior to Society One that you felt that you made it in the music business, or was Society One the first time you said to yourself, "Oh, this is fucking it"?
There's only one time in my life that I ever felt that I had made it in the music business, and it was incredibly short-lived. And it was in 2005 at the Download Festival in the United Kingdom and England, and it was in front of 80,000 people. When I suspended, I was the first singer to suspend with 4 hooks and suspend in front of that many people for an entire set. And I remember walking to the end of the stage that day, and this is all on video. We have all this. It's in my movie
Mhm.
too. And it took a bow, and I remember standing out in front of the stage, in front of those 80,000 people, and doing that, and saying in my head, "Wow, it was a long road to get here, and it was a lot of hard work. But from the coconut teaser not being allowed in the club to getting here, I've done it. I've made it, and I did. I made it for about one day." You know, and that was the peak of my career in terms of music, and that was it. So I really only felt like what you said literally one day. That was the only day I actually
Right.
felt that I made it in music.
Now, explain to me, because I'm not 100% sure what you mean by suspended. Do you mean like
Well,
hanging from somewhere?
yeah, so you didn't do your homework, which is fine because I know I'm
Well,
not.
no, I saw that you hold the record for that, but I didn't
Yeah.
know what it was.
Yeah, so I was the first singer ever in 2002 to take shark hooks and pierce them through my back, and then hang while I perform with my band.
Oh my
And
god.
I was the first guy to do it in a video. Then I did it in a small show, and then it eventually got so big I did it up at the Download Festival. And
Okay.
then from there, I was the first guy to do guitar suspension and play guitar. And then I broke the world record in Las Vegas in 2008, where I suspended for 6 hours with only 4 hooks, and I beat the world record. And
Wow. I mean, so I was gonna ask what that was. I didn't
yeah,
want to assume anything.
you're gonna have to watch the movie. A lot of people now, they don't realize that, because I'm making this movie about Wayne and Terror right now, they just think like I'm just decided to do this. My last movie is on Prime Video. I'm actually a real filmmaker, and my movie
Okay.
before that won an award. So like,
Okay.
you know, um, but a lot of people don't realize that, so they don't look at the previous movie and it explains the suspension and everything I did because that movie's more about shock rock.
Okay. Now, can I ask a stupid question? Does that
Sure.
hurt, or is that a mind over the matter thing?
No, it
Is
hurts.
it? It does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, think of it this way, man. Um, there's only been one rock singer, and since I've suspended to ever do what I do, and it's just me. There's been nobody else. There's
Right.
been bands that bring in suspension artists now,
Right.
but nobody, no lead singer has ever done it since me. Nobody's ever
That's
broke
pretty.
my world record either. People have hung longer with more hooks, but not less
Ah,
like I did.
yeah. Because I guess more hooks would make it easier, I'm
It
assuming.
does, and it also changes like people go like this or
Right, 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 right.
yeah.
I mean, that's interesting, man. So when did the shift go from music to directing?
Oh, I was a director. Uh, I mean, I guess you could call my first film I ever did. I think was in oh my god, 92, 93. It was in
Okay.
Filmmaker magazine. And then right after that, I got into adult film, and then you can call that directing, I guess, if you want or not. But, I was the
I
youngest
mean,
guy ever to make it to a 6 picture deal with Playboy. I did a bunch of
so you
pictures for them.
it was for Playboy you did it then?
No, I did other things for other people. But initially,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I directed actual, like those softcore movies you see on Cinemax. I did those for
Yeah, yeah,
Play.
yeah.
The youngest director. I was doing those at like 21 or 22. I was directing those movies for them. So, yeah, I mean,
How
I guess, and then from there it went into music videos.
Yeah, I saw the list of people you directed the videos for. I mean, that is impressive in itself, by the way. I'm just
Yeah, there's been some great people: John Five, DMC, Static X, Wayne Static, Motor Grader, Wednesday 13, um, commercials for John Five and Zach Wild. Who else? I always miss people. Orgy.
yeah.
Um, yeah, bunch of people.
Yeah, listen, I'll say you've made it. I mean, just from talking to you for 20 minutes now, if I had to say, did Matt Zane make it or not, I would say yes. That's the answer I would give.
I think it's all relative, really. I think it just depends on who you compare what success is to. Um, like that guy that did the new Billy Idol documentary. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He was in Bathory. He did all those movies. He did the movie about the church burnings. He's done a
Okay.
million different things. Paul McCartney, he's worked with that guy. If you look at his list of stuff that he's done, if you compare me to him, I'm a total loser.
Right.
But if you compare me to somebody else, I may be the biggest
Right.
thing ever. So
What do you enjoy more, music or directing?
it just shifts. Right now I'm enjoying directing more because the last outing of the band was incredibly frustrating, and it just really almost wasn't that fun anymore. So it just kind of, after that whole thing happened, it was the last big outing of the band. I was just kind of like, I'm not going to say completely over it, but I definitely needed to get away from it for a while. So right now I'm
Right.
really enjoying directing, but I'm involved in a movie right now. I'm like, I'm deep, deep, deep into it. And it's just where my head is at, but that's
Is it
usually where I get when I direct movies. I got so into my last movie, my girlfriend kicked me out of the house before it was done. I got kicked out.
because you were just all wrapped up in the film?
Yeah, because I just got so wrapped up in, money and all types of stuff. And yeah. So yeah, I never even moved back. I moved back, to where I went back to my
Yeah.
LA place.
Now, what's the controversy with the one you're working on now is the Static X documentary, right?
No, it's a Wayne Static and Tara Ray documentary. It's
Okay,
not the
okay,
Static X documentary. The Static X documentary is being put on by the band in the Estates, and that is being produced by a guy named Edsel Dope. I
okay.
did shoot that movie. That's why there is some confusion. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And I edited maybe about 85% of it. And I was hired by them to do it. This is my own movie about Wayne Static and Tara Ray. It only covers primarily the last 7 years of Wayne's life, the last year of Tara's life, and as well as my involvement with them. So there is a
Okay.
distinction there that is very important.
Okay. And there are I'm assuming from what I read, there are people who are upset with that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a cease and desist from the estates. Right now, the band has been bad mouthing me all over the place. The fans and personally, and all the Static X band sites and Edsel Dope fan sites have, taken it upon themselves to go out there and do whatever they can to get people away from supporting the project in terms of donations or votes
Right.
or whatever. There's a lot of fans that are absolutely losing their minds over what's going on and going up on my social media sites every day, bad mouthing me and just going crazy. And it's really wild, man.
I would say that means you're probably hitting the mark on what you're trying to tell, I would
Yes and
imagine.
no. A lot of it just honestly just comes from the band and the management. Edsel Dope manages the band now. So just a lot of it comes from them. They just don't want it to come out. They don't want me to gain any traction and any validity in terms of what I'm doing. And it's because of the fact that, they really want to erase the last 7 years of Wayne's life. It gets messy if you include those last 7 years.
Mhm.
And my argument is that that's what Wayne was all about, was those last 7 years. And the big controversy or the big opposition to this comes in the fact that Wayne was struggling and Tara was struggling with substances in those years. And so people want to write off everything that happened at that time. And it's really just an unfair thing to do because, yes, there were substances involved, but there were also more sober moments. Like I always say, it was more like this.
Yeah.
Can't discredit their entire last 7 years of their life because the guy at times and unfortunately in his demise was due to drug abuse. So that's my argument that I made. I'm basically trying to fulfill something that they asked me to do, that they asked me to make for them. And the family and the band and Edsel Dope are trying to say, oh, it's null and void because they were on drugs and they didn't know what they were saying. And we should all
Right.
just forget about the last 7 years and forget
Right.
about
Right.
Tara Ray.
Right.
I don't know if that makes much sense to you, but that's
No, no,
that.
I get it. I get it. I get it. Now, do you have you've already shopped this? Do you have a backer for it? I mean, this is gonna get released, or you're just working on it and then you're gonna shop it?
Yeah, I'm gonna shop it when it's done,
Okay.
because I had a buyer for it already. Um, but Edsel Dope went down there to the buyer and got the deal nuked.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people don't know that, but that's what really happened. I had a buyer, had an investor. It was a done deal. They were going to cut a check for me on Friday. I made the deal on Monday. They were going to cut the check the following Friday. Edsel Dope got down there and he said, and he totally got it destroyed, blew the whole thing
What
up.
did he do you know what he said or no?
I From what I'm told, he basically was going to make sure that the family wasn't going to be involved and sign off on it.
Uh-huh.
And then that's when the company got cold feet because they were afraid of the legal implications of it, and they didn't really want to get embroiled in a court case if they were to invest all this money into the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, so now I
Yep.
didn't have a backer, and then I started an Indiegogo campaign, and uh, as soon as the Indiegogo campaign was about to launch, anybody that knows anything about those campaigns, you have a 12-hour countdown or a 24-hour countdown before you can donate.
Mhm.
The band in the estate saw the countdown and they immediately came out with a press release that said, "We we reject this. We don't support it. Don't give any money to it." Like, and nobody donated, so it made no money.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so they blew that up too. So yeah, so now I just had to turn to self funding, which is difficult, because I'm working while
Right.
simultaneously creating this film and editing this movie. It's about 90% shot. But the restoration of the movie is it's incredibly tedious because we're talking
Right.
about film mediums that are really poor quality. And there's stuff that I pulled off of YouTube that I've gotten rights to use certain interviews and stuff, and that's off of YouTube. I got to clean up all of it,
Right. Yeah.
sound, the
Yeah.
video, the whole bit. And there's models now that you can do that with, but like the really good ones are all cloud-based and the rendering time takes a lot. And, you know, and the band initially okayed the use of his Pighammer record, and then they pulled that as well. So now I'm
Uh,
having to get sound-alike music, because that's the one way they could really get me, is the moment that I use any of the music, I get hit for copyright. So it's like I'm having to make all this bunch of sound-alike fake music that still makes you
uh,
feel like you're listening to Wayne Static, you know?
yeah, yeah.
I have a
Well,
couple of tracks with him that are real in the movie, but only a couple.
okay. I wanted to get your thoughts on AI too, because that's prevalent right now. There's two sides, there's two camps on the thought. I wanted to get where you stand on AI.
I love it only because it just breaks down more gatekeeping. A lot of people have accused me of using AI in this movie. I'm just gonna like make AI Wayne and Tara. But for the record, that's absolutely not true. I never said I was going to do that. I initially said I was going to use AI for some of the music, um, but never for the film. So when I say that I love AI, I love it in the fact that it allows filmmakers to do things that before only the big studios could do. So that's a
Correct.
form of gatekeeping. Monetary limitation is a form of gatekeeping with an art. And if it means that you have to use AI to get your idea across, then I'm all for it. You know, I think where a lot of people get caught up in AI is just like they think that, or they're going to use it in a way that is going to do all of the creative work for them. And in my sense, is that yeah, maybe in certain cases it can, but it's never going to be that good. You know, real when you work with AI enough, like I have, you have to put good stuff into it to get
Yeah.
anything good out. And
Mhm.
I still stand by that, because unless there's soul put into it, it's all machine and it's
Yeah.
soulless. And you know, you're people are going to realize the difference. So again, people are probably going to twist my words, and somebody's going to clip this and put it up on some site. But again, to set the record straight, I'm only using all real Wayne and Tara footage in the movie.
Right, right, right. So you're okay with, current artists using AI?
Like
If it's
in what respect?
so let's say it's their lyrics and the rest of the track is AI generated.
Sure, why not? Let me ask you a
Yeah,
question.
okay.
Um,
I'm not against it. I'm not
yeah,
against it, but
yeah, but like I'm just for your audience, like so think about you're a songwriter, a lyricist, a vocalist, and you go and have a guy. You know, I probably shouldn't say this, but like Ronnie Radke has a songwriter. He has a producer guy. Okay. I'm not
Mhm.
saying Ronnie doesn't write his lyrics or sing his songs. He does. But he has a guy that, you know, has a specific number that you pay him to write those awesome songs that he has. Okay. What's the difference between if a guy writes your music for you or a computer writes your music for you? You didn't write either music. You
Right,
just
yeah,
wrote the lyrics. You see
yeah,
what I'm
you're right.
saying? It
Yeah,
doesn't matter. A guy writes it, a computer writes it. It's you didn't write it. And so if you release that song, it's not really all Ronnie Radke. It's Ronnie Radke and this other guy. You never
right,
hear about
right,
the other guy, do you? It's all
right.
Ronnie Radke. See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
I see what you're saying.
that's the way that it goes. And so I look at AI in the same way. If you're a vocalist and you have a melody, but you do not have the ability to write like chords that have, you know, extensions on them, you know, beyond a one, three, and a five, you know, maybe a seven, a nine here, whatever, to color it more, and AI can help you do that and support that melody you came up with. That would be no different than a songwriter doing it for you.
Right, yeah,
But now, because of AI, you can afford to get that. And sonically, it's going to get to the point where you can also afford to have it sound like somebody
yeah,
that can afford the studio. These people that go into the studio that have these great sounding records, they don't know how to turn those knobs to make those awesome sounds. You've got
right,
engineers to do that.
yeah.
So if you're paying an engineer, you're not doing it. Or if a computer does it for you, you're not doing it. Where's the difference?
I'm with you 100%. And, that's why Marvel just laid off, like, thousands of illustrators and graphic designers because AI can do it now. I just think that's the future of everything moving forward.
And that sucks for them. I feel bad for them, but
It does suck, but, yeah, I always use the example, when the horse and buggy was the only mode of transportation, when the automobile came out, the horses and the people with the buggies lost their job. I mean, that's just how technology works, right?
it is, and I'll just take it back to, I just think it cuts down on some of the gatekeeping, because I'm always been an adversary of that, because I've always been held down by that. And so anything that can break that barrier and get the artist closer to having their art perceived as something professional on the same level as somebody else, where creativity is ultimately the focus,
Hmm.
I'm all for it.
Now, what are your thoughts on the music industry today? Like, so you grew up in the late '80s, '90s. Is it marketably different than it
Yeah.
used to be?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's so different. Um, back in the day, man, on the strip, you just made a demo tape, a 4-song demo tape, and a flyer. And you know how you got signed? You sold out the Whiskey A Go Go, or the
Right.
Rock, or the Troubadour. If you could sell those 3 clubs out for a year or 2 straight, you had a record deal. It was cut and dry, and it was done. It's that simple. Um, then as far as when you got into the label, the label paid for your video and your marketing and your promo and your touring. And then you either rose or you didn't rise,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
it. And now it's a totally different game, man. It's all about social media numbers,
Yeah,
and
and
that's it.
it's very single centric too. I mean, like, people will put out singles before they put out albums, I think that's,
Yeah.
they
Dude, they'll put out songs without lyrics. There's a band called Untitled that has 24 million listens right now on their Spotify. They stuck out I just shot a video. Not I wasn't the director, but I was working for the director on their last video. And, uh, they got a deal from putting out a song with no lyrics, and then they put the lyrics on it, and they got a deal, like, think about that. They blew up from a song with no vocals on it.
that's crazy. I mean, I
One
think
song.
I'm a lyric guy. I like, when I listen to a song, I pay close attention to the lyrics. I wanna hear the story, I wanna hear what the writer was trying to convey. Music's important too, but I'm a lyric guy. So,
Well,
I mean, that's important to me.
yeah, well, they did it without lyrics, and then, they
I
one
think
song
that's
they
pretty
got signed.
I think that's pretty funny. I think that's
Yeah,
pretty
go
funny.
look into them. They're called Untitled. Really nice guys, young kids, like 18, 19 years old. They sound like Nirvana.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll check
real
them out.
good. They're
Check 'em
like,
out.
it's crazy. It's like you should go listen.
What do you
It's not
have
like an invitation. It's like it's almost like a continuation almost. They're so good.
Okay. What are where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
The one last thing that I wanna do in my life is a biopic. I wanna direct one of those. That's all I haven't been able to accomplish yet. That's it. It's the only thing.
Your
Uh,
biopic, or who do you have someone in mind?
Wayne and Tara would be great. I'd like to do a biopic on them because they wanted a biopic. Uh, I would love to make a biopic version of the documentary that I'm doing right now. That would be great. I think a biopic on my own band would be amazing. I know it would be. Everybody says no. That would be a tough sell though, because we're not famous and never really made it. But it would be the wildest story in rock and roll history, because I was the only guy to ever start in porn and then go into suspension. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right, right.
there's aspects there that no other rock and roll band story has. Doesn't matter if you're Kiss or Led Zeppelin or Metallica,
Right,
for that
right,
matter.
right.
Though all those stories are very similar. My story is unlike anything that's ever happened. Doubt that's ever going to get made. But a biopic is really where I'd like to land. I'd like to do the Wayne and Tara story. I think that would they would love that. I know they wanted it, and I think that would be the ultimate goal. So if that could happen in the next 5 or 10 years, that would be great.
I mean, are you writing it, or you didn't even start putting it together?
I'm putting their documentary together right now.
Yeah, okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, like this, I've got to get this done. I've got to get this one out, and then I can start to try to shop it around to people and say, "What do you think about, you know,
Right.
and it's not too far fetched, man. They've made biopics about the Germs.
Yeah,
They made about Lords of Chaos, like that Jonas Ackerlund guy that used to be in Baphomet, that Bathory that I was just talking about. They've made smaller uh, rock doc biopic things,
yeah.
so it's
I I
doable.
I think if the story is good, that's all you need. You need a story that people can associate with, or identify with, and it really doesn't matter if it's a superstar or mid-level or even a lower level.
Yeah, so the plan is to get this one done, get it out there, really push it, and then get some interest to try to get that shot. That would really be amazing.
So out of all the things you've done in your career, if I had to ask you what your favorite was, can you pinpoint one?
Um, that download performance was probably the peak of my music career. The peak of my film career was last year when I came out with my second film. One of the platforms that we were on was called Thunderflix, and it's a strictly music based platform. And when we were signed, unbeknownst to us, we were signed and our movie was released literally 3 weeks before the Metallica movie was released after us, about their first album, and it was put out by
Right.
Red Records, Metal Massacre. And we couldn't believe that they stuck us 3 weeks before, um,
Yeah.
Metallica, and we were not happy about it. And they pushed us off the number 1 spot, and we went down to number 3, I think. And the following month, we came back and beat them for the number 1 spot. When we beat technically Metallica, Metal Massacre, their first real record, and
Mhm.
beat that documentary and went back to number 1 after we'd been knocked down, that to me was just like the greatest film moment that I've had yet. Like that was just like, holy crap. I mean, that was something else, man, because when you can beat Metallica in anything,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a wild, feeling. Like it was just like, holy shit. So,
Listen, I
those are like my favorite in music, and then my favorite in film.
I said I would buy a ticket to your biopic for sure. I think it'd be an interesting flick.
Oh, it'd be interesting. All right.
Who would play you in the movie?
Oh, who knows? I definitely couldn't play myself. I can't act worth a shit, and plus, I don't look as cute as I used to. So it'd have to be a young, good-looking, androgynous dude.
What do you think of the resurgence of the hair bands now? I mean, they're all out there now, right? I mean, Rat's out there, 2 versions of Rat. I mean,
Yeah,
Sebastian Bach is fronting to Twisted Sister. I mean, it's
yeah,
all craziness out there,
yeah.
but do you think it's all good for that brand of music, or do you think
Yeah.
that it's a money grab?
No, it's awesome. I think it's great. 80s were great. We got to keep it alive. You want to hear a funny story about Sebastian Bach?
Sure.
I get a call from him once out of the blue. I think I was in Whole Foods, and he's just like, "Hey, this is Sebastian Bach." I go, "Hey, man, what's up?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Can you build me an LED back wall for my show?" Because he knew that I did the guitar, John Five's guitar amps that were TV guitar amps, and those were really big when John Five did those. And I'm the one that put all those things, and rigged them all, rigged those all together.
Mhm.
And I said, "Yeah, I could." He goes, "Well, when we're not on the road, though, I want to put it in my living room and use it as my television."
That's funny.
That dude is out of control, man. I didn't end up doing it. I'm like, "Sebastian, it's possible, but do you realize that you're gonna destroy your fucking like eyes in your sleep? Like it's
Right.
like you shouldn't be watching. You know what I mean? It's crazy."
Yeah.
And you mentioned Rat. Funny thing about Rat, there used to be a rehearsal studio down the way here that we used to rehearse at, that they used to rehearse at as well. And at any point, if anybody knew, they could walk into that building and hear a Rat Society One concert going on simultaneously.
Really?
I used to walk by Stephen Piercy in the hallway, and he'd be like, "What's up?" you know.
Huh.
And I saw Rat back when I was like 14, back in New York. You know,
Yeah.
it
You
was
think that
crazy. I'm just like rubbing shoulders with the guy, and he's just like saying, "What's up?" and we're jamming.
yeah, me when I'm on the East Coast, so growing up for me, Cat Club, Club Benet was big for I don't know if you remember that place. That was on Route 9 in Sayreville. It was like a dive, but a lot of the bands went through there too, so
You know where we got to
Cat
play
Club.
before it shut down, which you'll know about? CBGB's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got to do CBGB's. It was when we did there, and Roadrunner came down to catch our to showcase us, because we had one album out and they were thinking about signing us. And it was a really super famous A&R guy named Monty Connor. You can Google him. He's awesome. And when after he watched us perform, he called our lawyer up and he goes, "I'm going to pass on the band because I think he called us a degenerate bunch of clowns." And
Oh,
it was recorded on our lawyer's voice machine at the time, and he didn't want to tell us, so he just played us the recording. And the funniest part about that is I talked to Monty like a year ago, like maybe less. And I was like, "Monty, do you remember when this happened? Whatever." And he's like, "Man, I'm real sorry if I said that. It really wasn't meant to be, whatever, and this and that." And he goes, "But in all fairness," he goes, "regardless of all the shit that people put you through, you've pushed through and somehow had a career for almost 30 years. So kudos to you." And I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, Monty, you didn't have to say that, but it's all good."
No, he's right though. I mean, for the amount of years that you've been active and doing stuff, I mean, not everybody can say that, right? I mean, there are probably people who hit a higher pinnacle than you that are not in the business anymore. That it just
Dude, I'm not complaining. I love life. I wake up every day grateful for every bit of this, even all the stuff that I'm having to go through now to get this movie out. It's been amazing. I cannot complain. And yeah, I've been in it for a long time, and it doesn't seem like it's not. I'm doing this movie right now about Wayne Static and Terror. I just worked for Kiss last week. um, I mean, who did I work for? I was at Fox Studios a couple of weeks before that. I was hired to go do this orchestra thing down at Fox Studios, which for people that don't know, it's the biggest recording studio in the world.
right.
Like, you've never been in a recording studio like this in your fucking life. And I'm getting to go and walk through the halls and see everything and meet, and be in situations that nobody can be in. I'm allowed on the orchestra floor with an
That's
80-person
awesome.
orchestra. Nobody's allowed to stand in front of that because that's where they record. But they let the
Right.
video guys do it, and you're surrounded by that music. It's unlike any experience, that you'd ever think about. And then like I got to meet Dimebag came to one of my shows once, and meeting David Lee Roth and working with Robbie Krieger and whoever else. You know what I'm saying? It's awesome on any which way that you look at it. And yes, it's been a very long run, and it's, believe it or not over yet.
That's what I was just gonna say. Now, do you have any new music in you?
Maybe, but not right now. I mean, right now, man, it's all when I'm on the movie, I'm on a movie. You know, um, I mean, I may look and get back into the music thing after this, but maybe not. Only because I got to tell you, man, I can't drop a name, but dude, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, mate, yeah, 2 weeks ago, I got called by a massive, massive, massive player in the industry, and he's just like, "Dude, what's up with your documentary that you're doing?" And I explained to him, and he's like, "All right, cool. When you're done with that, can you jump over to mine?" And
Oh,
it's one that I can't turn down because it's that
okay.
big. So I could get off of this one and then be right on the next one. So I don't know, man. I love music, dude. I love performing. But my band gets so much shit, man. I don't expect you to really know all the ins and outs of what we went through and what we do. But oh my God, dude, the last show that we played was last year at the Viper Room. And I think we got banned after we played. They gave us a list of things not to do on stage when we were there. And
And
we
you
did
you
a lot
did
of
them all?
them. And then we got banned. And the guy came up to us. We sold it out. And the manager came up to us and he goes, "Yeah, we want to have you guys back." And I go, "You guys aren't going to have me back. I just broke every rule that I was given before I got up on that stage." And he goes, "Well, let me see what I could do." And he couldn't do anything. They never
You
called us
couldn't
back. And we sold it out. And I think I was on a Saturday. So it was, and yeah, they couldn't believe it. They said they never seen that place that packed in 5 years.
That's
But
awesome, man.
but it doesn't matter. Like we get, other bands don't want us to play with them, you
Right.
know, and they don't want us on the show. They don't want us causing problems. And, like the last time we did the whiskey last year, the security came up to us and said, "We absolutely enjoyed watching the show, but we were shitting our pants the entire time because they didn't know what the hell was going to happen." You know what I mean?
Right.
There was parts of that show where like I'm hanging upside down from the balcony at 50 years old. And then I'm having chicks, cut me while I'm singing at the same time. That's never been done in the history of rock and roll. You know what I mean? Yeah, people have cut themselves, but I'm actually letting fans grab knives and cut me while I'm singing. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
that I'm sorry, Matt, that's kinda crazy. You don't know where are you giving them the knives or you're letting
yeah,
them have their own oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's never
I
been
don't even
happened.
know what
It's never happened ever. And the whiskey were just like their mouths were just dropping. They just couldn't believe what they were looking at. They're like, "What? How did he get a knife in here? And why is he letting fans cut him?" Like it was. They couldn't believe it, dude. The book, the publisher that wrote the book about me that came out last year, he wouldn't even publish everything that is actually going on with this band. He even edited, and censored what was going on. So, when you're faced against so much persecution as far as your music, it just gets a little more difficult to do the things that we do because my band isn't a typical band. We've broken so many records and rules and things that have never been done before, but most people don't even know because they won't even talk about us in the press. I'll get talked about in the press as far as my film work is concerned. But
right.
when it comes to Society One, they won't touch us. They obviously know
So
who I am, you know.
yeah. It sounds like to me, though, that you would rather do it sounds like the directing is your passion now.
Right now it is my passion because I've come up against so much adversity with the band. I'm sitting on another movie about my band that's a sequel to the last movie, but I'm not even finishing it yet because I know when it comes out, nobody's going to touch it. when my last movie about the shock rock with my band came out, I called 13 different publicists and they refused to take the project on. You know, so there's a lot of adversity that way. But when I do films where I pull it away from my life personally,
Right.
it's open doors in a lot of ways. At least the press will talk to me in that sense and
Where
about those things. So it's easier to do that versus the music thing.
Yeah, where can everybody find the movies that have been released? Are they
So,
streaming?
everyonediesthemovie.com, you can go there, but you can
Okay.
see it there. You can see it on Prime Video. You can
Okay.
see it on Relay. You can see it on Thunderflix.
Okay.
Um, the movie that I came out before then, it's called D.V. Karloff, The Altered Noise. That won an award in a very small film festival called the American Horror Film Festival. Um, that one can only be seen right now on YouTube, D.V. Karloff, The
Okay.
Altered Noise. Reason being is that Dirt, D.V. Karloff wasn't that well known, and it was just hard to get anybody to to get behind it and even allow it on any platforms. I'm hoping that when my other movies get a little bigger, they'll go back and take that one because
Mhm.
it's a very underground character, but the story is really amazing because he was a guy that I played bass with that came out here from Indiana, and then he went into Hollywood, loved Kiss also, and he ended up getting to meet Gene Simmons, and then he became this famous tattoo artist that tattooed like Kelly Clarkson and Britney Spears, you know what I mean? And Wayne Static and Tara Ray. And then he had a resurgence. He got into another band with Sin Kieran from Ministry, and they got to go back to Europe and play in front of like tens of thousands of people. And then he died.
Yeah.
So it's a really wild story about this dude. But the problem is he wasn't famous, so a lot of people were very they they didn't reject it. They just didn't give it enough time of day. And plus, my movie making skills weren't 100% honed by then. It's still a very solid piece technically, but
Okay.
technically now I'm far advanced, and the technology is better now too. But yeah, that's what the first movie is about. And I'm telling you, man, like if you've never heard of Rags to Riches making its story, that's almost better than what this guy, went through. Really, really great, cool film. Really, really proud of that one.
Yeah, I'll throw links up to everything when I do editing, post edit, I'll put all links to everything. Also, I wanted, uh, if I wanted to play lead in with one of, Society One songs, do I have permission to do that, or do you have to get the other band member?
Yeah, I don't own all of them, but I'm sure I don't think Eric's gonna care. Eric owns my 2 biggest records, and then, I own all the rest.
Okay, well, send me a song that you're comfortable with that the other guys won't get involved. 'Cause I know YouTube and Amazon, the minute you play something longer than 10 seconds, you get a copyright strike. It's crazy.
Just play, what was our last song that we came out with? Oh, yeah, play the latest one. Play the one about the Kurt Cobain suicide, "You Made Me."
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that was our last single that just came out, a couple months ago, yeah, so yeah, I think
Well, I'll try it, and then if I get a copyright strike, they always give you the opportunity to reach out to the, person who created it, and you may get an email, but
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely, but I own that one. That one, I own a ton of my stuff, just not all of it.
well, listen, man, I'm glad that you were able to do this. To me, I was fascinated, and we probably could do another hour too. I mean, I would be willing to do a part 2 if you're up for it, when you finish the movie?
What I would do if it's okay with you, I would definitely let me finish the movie. It's not gonna be that long.
Okay.
Watch the movie, and then I think you're gonna understand a lot more, and if your next one is about the movie and more about the movie, you're gonna get a much higher viewership, because people are gonna be talking about this forever
Okay.
after the movie comes out, because it's
No.
right now where all the focus really is, and for good reason. But really, I would watch the movie, and then we can get back on here and talk, and that's when you're really gonna be like, "Holy crap," you know?
I'm already holy crap. My listeners are gonna enjoy the shit out of this. You have a lot of stories, you're entertaining. You've done shit that most people have never I mean, it's crazy. Not crazy, it's interesting. I don't wanna say crazy, that's not the right thing to say.
Well, some of it is crazy, yeah, so
I wanna thank you, sir, for taking the time and sitting with me, and, like I said, when the movie's done, I'll watch it, and we'll do this again.
sounds good.
Alright, thank you, sir.
Thank you.